The climate is changing. Oceans are warming. Extreme weather is more common. Threatened species are under strain. Whether we accept it or not, it's happening. What we might do about it is up to us. We're on borrowed time.
I'm Andrew Murphy from the Mill Valley Public Library, recording on behalf of the Borrowed Time series. Today I'm joined by comedian Dhaya Lakshminarayanan, son of a gun.
Lakshminarayanan.
Thank you. I did already pre-record my introduction,
Yay.
And I got it.
Great.
But I might just leave it as is.
Whatever you want to do.
All right, thank you. So Dhaya's going to help me workshop my jokes a little bit. They're all about climate change. And I'm hopeful that Dhaya can help determine if these jokes are funny or not, because all my coworkers said they're not.
Oh.
But they also laughed, so that sent me some mixed messages. And part of where these jokes came from is when we started planning our Borrowed Time series, we were concerned that the subject might be a little bit too dark, so we're trying to think how we can make this a little more accessible and engaging. And that kind of led to me making a couple of jokes, and then I wrote a few more, and then I wanted to share them. And as it happens, I also saw a recent academic article written by Patrick Chandler from the University of Colorado, and he wrote an academic article advocating for talking about climate change through jokes as a way to both cope with the subject, but also to be effective and encourage people to actually deal with it and respond to it. So we'll see if there's any truth to that. Maybe it's the old cliche, laughter is the best medicine. So hopefully some laughter will come out of this.
Yeah. And it's good because there's a lot of darkness, and often comedians use humor to deal with dark subjects, whether it's loss or politics or illness. So this is in the vein of what comedians do regularly.
And I'm no comedian, so all right, so I'm just going to... I have one more disclaimer. I have a classic joke in here, and I don't want to be called out for plagiarism. And I didn't want to say that disclaimer beforehand, because I don't want to, mess it up in the moment, because it kind of is... I'm using it to set up my original joke.
Okay.
But that's going to come later.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with an original.
Okay.
All right, don't get too excited. What is 1 + 1?
Is it 2?
It is. But what is 1 degree Celsius plus 1 degree Celsius?
Is it 2 degrees Celsius?
It's too hot to handle.
Okay. So that's, like classic joke structure it's kind of like a knock-knock joke, or like what do you get when you cross a blob with the blah? Like very classic, like old school joke structure. You could do a lot with that. Do you want me to say anything,
Sure,
or you
absolutely.
want me to pause? I think it's very sweet because it's like the punchline was what is it? Too hot to handle?
Yes.
What is the significance of 1 degree Celsius and 1 degree? Is that the rate at which the climate is increasing, the temperature?
Yeah, so the Paris Climate Accord Agreement was aiming for preventing a 2 degree Celsius increase, and we're way off from coming close to that. And even 2 degrees was kind of agreed as really, really bad. So it's going to be 2 degree living on Earth with a 2 degree Celsius increase is going to be very, very bad for all living things.
I feel like this is one that you might be able to pull off just as long as your audience knows about the premise. So the premise is what everyone understands to be common knowledge, and then that's kind of the basis of the joke. So the setup is like, what do you get when you blah, 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 blah. And the punchline is the too hot to handle. So just as long as everyone knows about this 2 degrees Celsius increase in the Paris Accords, I think you're going to be fine, because it's a very simple joke to get into what you want to say. There's other ways that you could tell the joke too. You could say, you could just cut out the what's 1 plus 1 and go straight to what's 1 degree Celsius plus 1 degree Celsius. And then if you wanted to be like a comedian, you could say, a lot of people think it's 2 degrees Celsius, but according to the Paris Climate Accords, it's too hot to handle. So that way you could embed the premise in that.
Thank you. I think that I like both taking out the first question and the variant on them.
But, again, you know your audience. So I do a lot of jokes where I assume the audience knows things about what I'm talking about. So if you maybe tell this joke in front of climate deniers, you might get booed, but that's not your audience. You find the people that are going to like this.
Yeah. I don't know that they would know the premise.
Yeah. And that's why they would be like, boo, because they would be not good audience members.
Okay. Well, I've got plenty of material that people might boo at, even if they get it.
I have not booed yet.
Okay. Well, here's one.
Okay.
Here's a candidate for booing.
Exciting.
How did the first Green Party candidate get elected to the presidency?
How?
In a landslide.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
It could also be in a blue wave.
Oh, that's also good too. I like landslide because it's about like erosion, right? Like isn't that what inspired, like there's not as much foliage, and because of climate change, we have either like very dry seasons, and then when it rains, there's a landslide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you wanted to take that joke in an absurd direction, you could say something like, how did where does what is a famous landslide that has occurred?
I think Ventura, Santa Barbara last year after the fire season.
Yes. You could also say like, you could also be like, this is just as cheesy from my end, but you could be like, did you hear about, the vote on most likely city to be a victim of climate change? No. What was it? Santa Barbara. It won in a landslide. Yeah.
That's much better. That's why you're the professional.
I think it's maybe 1% or 2% Celsius better. Not highly better. It's hard to make funny stuff out of real science. It's hard.
All right. Well, here's one I think everybody can understand without understanding the premises too much. Mm-hmm. It is topical, though. What is black, white, and red all over?
Is it a newspaper?
Australia.
Okay, explain that one to me.
Well, it's on fire.
Yeah.
So the red would say imply blood or
oh, this is getting
fire.
Dark.
Yeah. I suppose you could interpret. You can interpret the black, white, or red as anything. They're all colors that exist there.
Oh, interesting. I might go more specific, like because Australia is having these fires and there's smoke and koalas are dying, right? I might go in a different direction, like, maybe it's like, what presidential candidate are the koalas voting for? Sanders, because they're really feeling the burn.
Already better.
No, I don't know if I'm improving or I am going along the same cheesy line and we're going to get booed together.
Well, you're welcome to use this material if you want.
No, please.
This whole series is intended to be shared.
Yeah.
So,
well, don't worry. I'm not going to use any of this material. This is just for us to have fun with. And I hope that you do use this material at cocktail parties, when you're out with your friends. maybe if you want someone to leave you alone, you can tell a joke and then they'll walk away from you. So you can use this for whatever.
That's true. All right, here's one of the
Yeah.
most classic, most cheesy questions. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Is it to get to the other side?
It was running from a wallaby on fire. So I'm sticking with the Australia theme for a little bit.
Okay. I would say that punchline might need to be punched up because right now it's a little sad. So it's okay to do material about sad things. You just want people to laugh in the darkness. You know what I mean? So maybe, how about if we changed it? What if we said, why did the wallaby cross the road? And we could think of a punchline for that. Because I like kind of the absurd overthinking. Didn't the U.S. pull out of the climate?
Yes.
Is it called the climate accords? The climate accords. Maybe it could be like, this is the joke that I would do because I'm mean. I'd be like, why did the wallaby cross the road? Because Trump pulled out of the climate accords and it had nowhere to go.
That's good.
It's good, but it's also kind of mean and sad too.
I had a different joke that had the punchline, there was nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
No, tell me.
Well, I wasn't even going to include this one.
Please.
Well, okay, but the context is for the first event we had for this series, we had an entomologist come and he studies ants in particular. So one of the ways I thought about sharing these jokes was to, for each interview I do, start with a joke. But I didn't test it out with anybody. So he's the ant man. So my joke was, why did the ant go marching one by one?
Why?
Because there was nowhere else to go. That was one of my jokes. It was I changed. So I played with it. So let me say that again.
Mm-hmm.
For that one, the pun or the question was, why did the ants go marching in? And then it was, there was nowhere else to go. But I changed it because I looked up the song and I got the song right.
Yeah.
Why did the ant go marching one by one? And I said it was the last one.
But if they're one by one, doesn't that mean there's two?
Yes, I know. There's some logical problems with that.
So here's the thing. With climate change people, they, I assume, are nerdy. So they're going to want the premise to be logical, right? So maybe you could be like, why did the ants go marching one by one? And you want the punchline to be like, because there's only two left? Or what? So are ants endangered?
Yeah, kind of everything else.
Oh, no, I'm depressed. How about a bee joke? Do you have any?
I don't.
Oh.
But there's a lot of material to work with.
Because everyone knows that the bees are endangered, right? So maybe you could be like, what's funny about bees dying? Let's see. What do you do when you find a live bee or something like that? I don't know. Like we'll come back to this one, I think. But I feel like bee might be better than ant because ant, I'm not really sure what's going on with them and they seem like they're all over the place. But everyone's talking about how the bees are endangered and we don't have enough of them and it's a crisis. So we can think about that.
Okay. I should warn you, a lot of my jokes get darker than...
Oh, I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, so the very first one, one of my coworkers she was asking a classic joke. And this is where this whole thing came from, as I answered with the climate change answer. She was asking the old joke, which was, I assume you know this, but when I shared this with a different coworker, they weren't familiar with this series of jokes. But the question was, why did the monkey fall out of the tree?
Because it couldn't grip?
Well, my answer was just deforestation. I think the classic one, do you know that one?
No.
I think I heard this in the 90s. The answer is it was dead. So it was already a dark joke anyway. I just changed it.
So let me ask a buzzkill question with that. How is the monkey in the tree to begin with if the land is deforested?
I never questioned that when I was Well, I never questioned the original one is also
Yeah.
how I guess it could
Yeah.
climb up there and then die. But
Yeah, like maybe it's like, maybe you could be like, why was the monkey excluded from its friends group? Because of deforestation, it had no place to hang.
oh, see, that's great.
Cheesy. These are not the kinds of jokes I do on stage. This is purely because I'm an environmentalist and I like Andrew and I want him to be successful.
And I appreciate it. But your professionalism is coming through. You've improved every one of these so far.
I don't know about improvement because we haven't tested it out in front of an audience. Maybe your audience will have higher standards than me because I like to laugh and I like to laugh about nerdy things and I do have a dark sense of humor. We don't know what the general public is going to say. So you should try it out in front of more than your coworkers, like maybe in front of smart people and see if they throw things at you.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I am. So part of this is a bigger initiative to share with other libraries, and I am concerned that this episode might turn them off from wanting to.
I have faith. My mother was a librarian for many years, so I'm down with librarians. So people who work in libraries, they're my homies. So I want to make sure that these jokes spread like coronavirus to all libraries.
Thank you. And this was Alabama, is that right?
Yeah, my mom worked in the Southern History Department in Birmingham, Alabama, in the library there. Yeah. And then she worked like on like the back end where you like do the cataloging and stuff like that. So she was front facing for a while and then she was more like nerd facing. So, but yeah, I grew up in libraries, so I'm down.
Thank you. I'm just going to say it. I shouldn't
Yeah.
give a disclaimer for everything.
No, not at all.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, you glad I didn't say 150 million people displaced by climate change seeking shelter and water?
I love it. I like that a lot because it's absurd and it's real and it's hard hitting. That's a good joke.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What did they say when their beachfront home was washed away from the rising sea?
I don't know.
Take my wife, please.
Oh, explain this one to me.
Well, okay, so I assume you know Take My Wife, Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like from the Catskills and like, yes. Yeah.
So I was trying to work that into something.
Mm-hmm.
The best I came up with was this gender-neutral rising sea joke.
Oh.
So I said they and their instead of he.
Uh-huh. It's a little bit of a logical stretch, but I think I like this idea because the Take My Wife, Please joke was so long ago, and it was when, like people would tell these jokes like, and it would be followed by like, ba-dum-bum, and like, it was a little bit, misogynistic, and it's like, the ball and chain. I really do like the idea of reclaiming some of these things to be like, like to have kind of a different, more updated, modern meaning. I do like that. But if we wanted to make it about climate change, tell me the premise again.
So their beachfront home was washed away from the rising sea, and that's what they're saying when it happens is take my wife, please. So they're trying to get their wife saved and rescued.
I
was going literal with the...
Oh, I get it. Okay, so what did the loving husband say when there was a climate-induced tsunami? Take my wife, please.
Okay. I think that's a little more clear.
Yeah. Or like, what did the devoted husband say to the lifeguard during and maybe you can make it specific. Like, remember the tsunami that just happened in Asia? When was that? Like 5 years ago? Like what?
I think I want to say it was 2010.
Oh, 10 years ago. Okay. So maybe, what was that? Was it Japan? Was it India? Where was that?
Thailand and Indonesia.
Okay. Maybe, like, did it have a name?
I don't know.
One of the things that makes jokes funny is the specifics. So, so maybe you could be like, what did the loving, devoted husband say during the Thailand tsunami? What did the loving, devoted husband say to the lifeguard during the Thailand tsunamis? take my wife, please.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. But the details. So also you want to do misdirection. So you're like, I don't know. Like, what would he be saying to the lifeguard? Like, help or save me or whatever. So oftentimes jokes are funny because you make them follow one logical path and then you give them whiplash and you go in the other direction.
Well, none of my jokes are specific and most of them are not logical.
That's okay, because just as long as you have an internal logic.
I definitely have that.
Yeah.
That might be why my coworkers are laughing.
Also, you can pull off a lot with personality. So what if you're just the kind of person who tells these jokes and people laugh? Like Mitch Hedberg did a lot of one-liners, but he would always like have glasses or look down or be awkward. And part of it was he was such a good joke writer, but part of it was like how awkward and charming he was. So you could probably pull it off if you had like, you know, like the right stage presence and personality to pull these jokes off. So don't forget about that.
Let's try this one out.
Yeah.
It's Mitch-like.
Okay, I'm excited.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Who gives a shit? We're all gonna die.
That's good. That's good. I would like to have it more specific, because now it just sounds like an existential threat, because it could be about the election. It could be about, gentrification. It could be about, cities becoming more violent. It could be just the human condition. So how could you make it more climate changey?
Well, I think who gives an S word would still work, and then you just have to add, I mean, the most generic basic way would say because of climate change we're all going to die, but I could spice it up and
you
play
could
with
spice
it.
it. You could say like, who's on first? Who gives a crap about baseball when when Antarctica just hit 65 degrees, and that probably means we're all going to die, and so are the penguins. What's on second?
Thank you for two things. One, making one more joke improved, but also acknowledging the news of today.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I'm sorry to bring it up.
I almost did earlier.
Was it really 65 degrees in Antarctica?
Yeah.
Dude, that's bad news.
Yes.
We need to laugh. Please keep going.
Well, you just had news, so I went back to my black, white, and red all over, but I think I'm not very good at improvising.
That's okay. That's okay. We could try.
I'm just going to move on.
Okay, move on.
What did the fish say when it ran into a wall?
Ouch.
Damn.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
That's the one that's not mine. That's the classic one. That's the plagiarized one.
Oh, no. Okay, here's what I'd recommend. I recommend that, so for comedians, those are called street jokes. Like street jokes are like, jokes that people have told over and over again. We don't really know who to attribute it to. It's kind of like the memes of like the 1900s or whatever. Like, I don't know. But we want to make sure that if we're telling a street joke, we improve upon it. Because if we tell it just like it is, then it's really not us being comedic in the true sense. It's us like recycling a joke. So it's not like recipes where you can make recipes from a recipe book and people will still eat it. But if you say, this is my grandma's homemade apple pie recipe and it comes from Betty Crocker and Betty is not your grandma, then people are like, that's so. I would cut that joke if it's like a street joke.
Well, the reason why I have it is to set up my next joke, which I'm just going to ruin it by, then you're not supposed to explain things before you say
That's okay. I like it because I'm a nerd. I like to analyze the joke.
Okay. Well,
it's fun.
I think this is the worst one on the list.
I'm going to love it.
And most people have, and that's why I'm confused by it. And now that all there's built up, everybody's going to hate this. I hope you do too, because I don't like it.
I hope I hate it.
All right. What did the fish say to the shark?
Baby shark, 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 shark. Do-do-do-do-do.
I know the reference, but I haven't heard the song.
Oh, okay.
My punchline is it getting hot in here?
Oh. Why would it be to a shark, though?
It could be anything in the ocean.
Mm.
But I guess I picked shark subconsciously, just thinking it's the prey asking the predator, but I...
Oh, okay, now I get it. What did the fish say to the hot fish at the undersea club? Hey, it's getting hot in here because of human contribution. Maybe something like that.
I love it.
Okay.
What do you say to console your friends after they've been dumped?
There's plenty. Oh, there's not any more fish in the sea because we're depopulating marine species.
I went somewhere close. Mine
Okay.
was there's plenty of trash in the sea.
I love that. That's a really good joke. Okay, maybe what do you? Maybe I don't know how to. Well, you can cut this. Maybe I should say, what do you tell your slutty friends? Can I say that?
Mm-hmm.
We can cut it if it's inappropriate for library. What do you tell your slutty friends when they go through a breakup? There's plenty of trash in the sea, because like this is gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can be slutty, right? So we don't want to put women or anyone down. Or we could add another adjective, like what do you tell your bad decisions friend when they go through a breakup? Don't worry, there's plenty of trash in the sea. You could spice it up a little bit. I like that joke a lot. That's good.
Thank you. I've only got a few left.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them aren't even actually jokes. We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hear it.
Why were pomeranians added to the endangered species list?
I don't know.
Because we're all going to die.
Oh. Wasn't that a punchline that you used before, though?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that if you do these jokes, the second time someone hears the same punchline, they'll laugh less. So I would pick the other joke because it was a stronger setup. But are Pomeranians really added to the...
No, just
okay.
It picks them as they're cute and that sounds funny.
I would cut that joke because you already have a strong punchline with the "we're gonna die" anyway, and that's a good one.
Okay.
And the Pomeranians aren't really endangered, so it's giving people fake news.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I told a coworker earlier today that we would be recording this, and I told him, basically that I was taking classic jokes and punchlines, and he said, "Are you going to do the one about the man walking into a bar?" And I have the answer is yes, but it's different. I'm doing the horse walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the emaciated face?"
Mm-hmm. And
that's it. That's all.
Are horses
No, it's kind of the same as the Pomeranians. It's just we're all kind of screwed.
But
instead of why the long face,
right? No, I get that, but I feel like it has to have something like. Is there something we know that's common knowledge about horses that they're losing muscle mass, or maybe like how cows are producing methane, frogs are becoming are like what are they becoming? Like frogs are they're becoming asexual, is that right? Because of like climate change or so. There's some things that are happening like with frogs, bees, cows, turtles. There's like common things. So I'm wondering if we could do X walks into a bar and the bartender says, like, didn't you die out 10 years ago? Or like, so I would pick something that there's like common knowledge of about like a species and what's going on with them. Because horse, nobody knows that they're losing mass. Pomeranians, they don't know. If you want to stick to the climate change topic, if you just want to tell random absurd jokes, I think it's a funny joke. I'm trying to keep it in the context of climate change. So,
I think all of these need a little improvement. So the next two are not really jokes. They're more rhetorical, philosophical things.
Hit me.
If a tree falls in a forest and everyone is dead from climate change, does it make a sound?
I like it.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Well, let's see how it compares to this. It's probably better than this one. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck wasn't extinct?
Is a woodchuck extinct?
No, see, so it's not.
Yeah. No fake news is what I'm saying. No fake news, because then it's alarmist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say do some research on things that are really going extinct, like.
Well, so a woodchuck is a groundhog.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's somewhere to play with Groundhog Day and predicting the weather, because it's always going to be warmer now.
Yeah. What did the groundhog say when it saw its shadow? And the standard response is what, like 6 more weeks of
Spring or
winter? Maybe it could be like 4 more years of rolling back environmental protection laws so that my family can survive, which is not that funny to other people, but I think it's in line with what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've only got one left, and it's not really even intended to share with you.
Oh.
It's a teaser for my possible next episode.
Can't wait.
So I met you through George Chinnan initially.
Yes, in Manny's.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know George from a music background.
Yeah, he works at Pandora, right?
He does.
And before that, he had a long career in music and then comedy.
Yeah.
He does it all.
He does. So I have this other idea of, climate change jokes, but all relating to goth music.
Oh, I love it.
And I think George will know most of the references. So I wanted to kind of do him with episode 2. I shouldn't say do him, but I wanted to include him for episode 2.
I think that's a great idea.
And I haven't asked him, but I think I can commit him to it.
That's fantastic.
So this is a teaser joke for that episode. And I didn't, there's no specific band references. And I don't know if you like goth music. Maybe I could have shared my good ones.
Tell me, is goth like Cure? Is that like pop goth? Is Morrissey goth? No, he's more alt sad boy.
I would include them in that episode. In fact, I have a Morrissey joke, which is better than this one.
Okay.
But it's darker.
Which one?
The Morrissey one is darker than the one I was planning on sharing.
Okay. Just share what you're comfortable with, because I don't know. I'm not an expert on goth stuff.
Okay, well, I'm going to share the one I planned on, because the punchline is unfortunately very similar to the other one, so it won't be as funny. Okay, why do goths wear black?
Because they're dead inside?
That might be what most people think, but in 2050, it's because they'll be covered in ash and soot from the burning world.
I love it. That's really good. That's good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for helping me. I think every single one of these jokes that will be kept is an improvement. I
had a real fun time doing this, and if we had more time, we could probably make these jokes killer, like killer bees that are eating the honeybees, and we won't have fertilized crops.
Right, and they're being killed.
Yeah.
It'll be killer.
Yeah.
So actually, the episode with George, I want to name the episode "Killing Joke," which is the name of a band.
Oh, is Joy Division goth?
I've got it. So my coworker has a good Joy Division joke. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, I think I know what goth music is. I think, but yeah, I'll listen to that episode.
Okay. Thank you.
Borrowed Time is a collaborative effort by librarians to combat climate change by discussing sustainability issues and all things related to the human influence on our ecosystem. For more episodes, visit borrowed-time.org.